in
लाइव करना
yes.
Good afternoon, sir, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you all again for an event on building digital bridges, India Japan Digital Partnership. First, we would like to show you a video screening on Digital India.
न्यू इंडिया और इम्प्लीमेंट भी करता है। न्यू इंडिया अब ये भी मानने को तैयार नहीं है कि भ्रष्टाचार सिस्टम का हिस्सा है। उसे सिस्टम ट्रांसपेरेंट चाहिए, प्रोसेस एफिशिएंट चाहिए और गवर्नेंस स्मूथ चाहिए।
Thanks to Digital India, today the government is bridging the last mile unlike ever and reaching people. Mobile phones are empowering citizens with ease of access to service and information. Aadhaar e-authentication has provided identity to more than 1.36 billion people, and around 450 million Jan Dhan bank accounts have been opened.
डिजिटल इंडिया है तो आज इज्जत है। किसी के सामने हाथ फैलाए बिना डीबीटी से पूरा का पूरा पैसा सीधा खाते में आता है।
अगर डिजी लॉकर नहीं होता तो मेरे सारे ओरिजिनल डॉक्यूमेंट्स मेरे मोबाइल में नहीं होते।
भाई साहब, मोबाइल डाटा 1 प्लेट चाट से भी सस्ता हो गया, तभी तो हमारे बच्चे महामारी में भी घर बैठे पढ़ पाए। 5वीं पास हो चुका है बबलू।
उमंग ऐप है तो 1500 से ज्यादा सरकारी सेवाएं हमारी उंगली को छोड़ कर है।
भला हो जो कोविन ऐप था तो हाथों हाथ टीके लगे।
डिजिटल इंडिया नाहिले लाइफ सर्टिफिकेट बनाबोलेदी ना पडेकिने टेबल बिराय থাকিব। डिजिटल इंडिया हा কাৰণে गोटेबी बनाबो পৰা হৈছে। এনচিপি আহিছে ভাবি।
If there was no digital India, today mobile phones would not have been made in small towns.
There is no dream of a unicorn in Nagaland without digital India.
कोरोना महामारी के दौरान डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर से जो मदद मिली ना, उसी ने तो मेरी और मेरे परिवार की जान बचाई।
In the last 8 years, we've gone from line to online and from Q to QR. Today, 40% of the world's digital transactions take place in India alone. And we are continually setting new records for UPI transactions. Telemedicine is now available in villages and to the poor. Digital India has transformed lives, incubated businesses, created unicorns, and is helping define India's decade, when all 1.4 billion Indians will be connected to the internet. To focus on the most vulnerable citizens of the world and bridge the digital divide. Digital India, catalyzing new India's decade. Jai Hind.
Thank you for showing us the video. Arigato gozaimashita. To start today's event, may I please invite His Excellency Mr. Sibi George, Ambassador of India to Japan, to make the inaugural remarks. Hajime Nichio Nichindo Taishino Shibi George Kakkayori Kai Kaino go aisatsu itadakimasu.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Shibuya Toshihiko, Deputy Director General of METI, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome all of you here today on the discussion about a key part of the relationship between India and Japan, our digital partnership. Friends, India and Japan share a long history of deep connections, both spiritual and cultural. Over the past decade, our relationship has grown into special strategic and global partnership, marked by the expanding interests and a broadening scope of collaboration. This partnership is based on our shared values and a common vision of peace, security, and prosperity. Today, we collaborate in key areas like trade and investment, defense and security, science and technology, energy, and healthcare. We also share a commitment to ensuring peace and stability in the Indo Pacific region, and our cooperation through the Quad reflects this shared goal. Dear friends, at the heart of our relationship is our economic cooperation. Japan has been one of India's most important investors, and together we have set an ambitious target of 5 trillion yen in public and private investment from Japan by 2027. Whether it is infrastructure, manufacturing, or technology, Japanese businesses are playing a very important role in India's growth story. One of the key areas of our collaboration within this framework has been our India Japan digital partnership. Launched during the Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi's visit to Japan in 2018, this partnership was formalized through a memorandum of cooperation between India's Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology (MeitY) and Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry (METI). I am happy to note that the representatives from both these ministries have joined us for the event today. The goal of our digital partnership has been to facilitate the cooperation in areas like startups, corporate collaborations, electronic system design and manufacturing (ESDM), digital talent exchange, and joint research and development. Since its inception, the India-Japan digital partnership have gained significant momentum. A number of initiatives have been undertaken to advance digital cooperation. For instance, a fund of funds was established to support Indian startups, and a startup hub was launched to promote business-to-business engagements and startup exchanges. Another milestone was the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on Semiconductor Supply Chains and the launch of Semiconductor Policy Dialogue last year. It was very encouraging to see the presence of major Japanese semiconductor firms at the Semicon India event held earlier this month in India. With India providing substantive incentives for developing a semiconductor ecosystem, there are great opportunities for the Japanese semiconductor industry. Dear friends, let me also talk briefly about India's own strides in the digital domain. Over the past few years, India has been at the forefront of digital revolution, driven by initiatives like Digital India, a video of which we have seen a little while ago. From building digital infrastructure to providing affordable internet access, we have created an ecosystem where technology is enabling better governance and improved quality of life. We have seen tremendous growth in digital payments, with UPI becoming one of the most widely adopted payment platforms in the country. Dear friends, as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of our special strategic and global partnership in 2024, we have an opportunity not only to celebrate our progress, but also explore new avenues for collaboration. In the digital domain, we can look at promoting greater and deeper collaboration under a digital partnership 2.0. The next phase can focus on emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, semiconductors, digital payments, and digital talent exchange. I am very happy to mention that 2 hours back I had a discussion on this with the Vice Minister of METI in Tokyo. I am confident that through a new partnership, we can discover new opportunities and take our collaboration to even greater heights. Once again, I thank each one of you for joining us. I'm sure that today's event will help us to further take forward our partnership, particularly Digital Partnership 2.0. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Toshihiko Shibuya, Deputy Director General for IT Strategy, Commerce and Information Policy Bureau, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, Government of Japan, to make the remarks. Shibuya Toshihiko-sama, Keizai Sangyo Shoumo Joho Seisaku, Kyoku IT Senraku Shingikan yori go aisatsu moshiagemasu.
Thank you, Ambassador. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and esteemed attendees, I extend my warm greetings to all of you gathered here today at the Embassy of India in Tokyo. It is an immense honor for me to address you on behalf of the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, MEDI. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers for the kind invitation. As we gather here today, Japan's cabinet is undergoing a transition, and unfortunately, our esteemed Minister Saito is unable to join us. We apologize for any inconvenience caused. Just a fortnight ago, I had the privilege of attending the G20 Digital Economy Ministerial Meeting 2024 in Brazil. This momentous gathering reaffirmed my belief in the transformative power of digital technologies and the pivotal role they will play in driving global progress. I must also acknowledge the remarkable achievement of the Indian presidency during the G20 meeting in 2023, last year, and the seamless continuation of these efforts under the Brazilian presidency. Earlier this month, we were honored to host Minister Vaishnav for a fruitful exchange of ideas with our Minister Saito on the subject of digital technology. Furthermore, our Vice Minister for International Affairs, Mr. Matsuo, visited India in mid-September, where he had the privilege of meeting Minister Vaishnav and engaging in discussion with Secretary Krishna on matters pertaining to semiconductors and talent exchange at the esteemed event Semicon India held in Noida. India, with its vast population and remarkable economic growth, holds great promise for further economic development. It is worth noting that India has produced exceptional leaders in the global tech industry, with hailing from this greater nation. With CEOs of renowned companies such as Google, Microsoft, and IBM hailing from these greater nations. Their contributions have been instrumental in driving global business forward. Japan is currently embarking on a profound societal transformation, harnessing the power of digital technology in advanced fields such as semiconductors, AI, and IoT. This concerted effort is aimed at driving comprehensive progress and addressing the challenges that lie before us. In our pursuit of excellence, we have identified two key pillars: corporate DX promotion and the development of digital talent. By focusing on these twin pillars, we aim to bolster our industrial competitiveness and tackle the pressing issues that confront our society. As part of our unwavering commitment to corporate DX, we have recently unveiled our latest endeavor, Digital Governance Code 3.0, towards enhancing corporate value through DX management. This groundbreaking initiative, formulated just this month, sets the stage for a new era of digital transformation, propelling companies towards greater success and prosperity. Moreover, we recognize the immense value of fostering collaboration and talent exchange between India and Japan. The demand for IT talent from India within Japanese companies is soaring, and we hold great expectations for the wide-ranging opportunities that lie ahead in this regard. In 2018, our ministry and the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, India, established the India-Japan Digital Partnership to facilitate collaboration between our two nations. This partnership aims to support market entry by Japanese companies, cooperation with Indian IT talent, and collaboration with startups. For instance, the job fair Japan Days has been held annually since 1918 at the Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad, facilitating matching between Japanese companies and talented IT professionals. Moreover, we have provided support for collaborative projects between Indian and Japanese companies through grants such as the Asia DX grant and the Supply Chain Resilience grant. In addition, we have launched the India-Japan Industrial Co-Creation Initiative, focusing on the creation of further future industries such as semiconductors and the evolution of existing industries. Cooperation in the semiconductor field between India and Japan has rapidly progressed since the signing of the Memorandum of Cooperation on the India-Japan Semiconductor Supply Chain Partnership in July last year. Promoting mutual understanding and exchange between companies is crucial for the foundation of concrete projects. We have conducted B2B sessions for semiconductor-related companies and facilitated discussions among government officials, universities, and research institutions from both India and Japan. The excellent talent in India and the advanced technology in Japan complement each other, and we will make efforts to promote the establishment of research and development institutions by Japanese companies in India and encourage joint research initiatives. To further accelerate these efforts, our ministry aimed to upgrade the India-Japan Digital Partnership, which was established through a Memorandum of Cooperation in 2018, and promote new cooperation in advanced fields such as semiconductors and AI between India and Japan. In closing, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for your attention and participation today. It is my hope that this seminar will serve as a catalyst for further deepening cooperation between India and Japan in the field of digital technology. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Rajesh Kumar, Director, ICT, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, to make the virtual presentation.
Good morning, good afternoon. I hope I'm audible. Good morning, good afternoon. I hope I'm audible. Thank you so much. Thank you, Embassy of India, for organizing this event under the India-Japan Digital Partnership. And His Excellency, Mr. C.B. George, Mr. Shibuya from the government of Japan, and respective stakeholders present under this workshop. India and Japan share a special strategic and global partnership, and friendship between the two countries have a long history rooted in spiritual affinity and strong cultural and civilization ties. Commercial relations between India and Japan have vast potential for growth given the complementarities that exist between the two countries. So I would share a small presentation on India-Japan economic partnership. So under this MOU of Memorandum of Cooperation on India-Japan Digital Partnership that was signed between Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology of India and Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan during the visit of Honorable Prime Minister of India to Japan in 2018 for 3 years, and this was subsequently renewed for another 3 years till 2024, wherein the existing joint working group was subsumed under the broad Memorandum of Cooperation. So this partnership aims to leverage mutual strength in technology and innovation. So the current scope of collaboration has 6 pillars. The first one is startup initiative, under which establishment of a Japan India Startup Hub has been completed, and India and Japan are supporting each other's startups within their respective territories. The second pillar under the digital corporate partnership, it is a matchmaking events happening under this area. B2B collaboration and efforts to curate a co-create culture among the two countries. The third one is electronics ecosystem, which is the strength of both the countries. India is also providing thrust to electronics hardware manufacturing in the country. Therefore, the collaboration between India and Japanese companies in electronic system design and manufacturing, along with software technologies, has a long way tail market. Digital talent is another pillar which needs to be skilled and upskilled on regular basis. So that is why India and Japan have collaborated to expand the Japanese endowed courses to IT and electronic firms. Recruitment of Indian students for Japanese firms are happening, and facilitation and promotion of internship programs to send Indian students to work at Japanese firms is also happening. Research and development cooperation is also an important pillar of our digital partnership, wherein we are sharing our expertise and experiences on building a various synergy between the two countries. The idea of Society 5.0 coined by Japan in 2019, and India's efforts to enable AI and emerging technologies ecosystem for societal benefits. Cybersecurity is one of the challenges we have been facing for long because of continuous penetration of internet in our lives. So cooperation of framework for cybersecurity and security of digital infrastructure for our future networks, capacity building and training has been an important aspect of our partnership. In this regard, Japanese telecom company NEC was involved in the construction of Chennai, Andaman and Nicobar Island submarine cable system. So we do have India-Japan semiconductor partnerships as well, which was signed under the Memorandum of Cooperation on Semiconductor Supply Chain Partnership in July 2023. During the Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit, a B2B meeting was conducted with 8 Indian and Japanese companies. Under this program, the first policy dialogue to discuss bilateral cooperation on resilient semiconductor supply chain, which was chaired by Secretary Mr. S. Krishnan of Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. So under this important partnership of semiconductor, the recent updates, we have that the 35 Japanese companies in electronic domains have committed US $1.22 billion. The initiative we have taken in this regard is Indian Semiconductor Mission, which participated in the Semicon Japan to showcase India's potential in the semiconductor sector. Companies like CG Power and Industrial Solutions Limited of India have signed an agreement for the transfer of technology with Renaissance Electronics Corporation, Japan, to establish an outsourced semiconductor assembly and testing facility in the state of Gujarat. Renaissance Electronics and Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad, have also joined together to promote research in VLSI and embedded semiconductor systems. So the future areas of collaboration we envisage under this partnership of semiconductor is we want to engage with leading edge technology center, which needs to we have a deeper engagement of leading edge semiconductor center and the research establishments involved in research and development in semiconductor sector, including advanced packaging. Opening of LSTC's first offshore campus in India to further boost research and development ties up between the two countries is the next step we have. Indian Institute of Science Bangalore and Indian Institute of Technology Bombay have also tied up with LSTCC. Ministry of Electronics and IT facilitated a meeting between Japanese research establishments and Indian academia in the month of May this year. A closed-door meeting was also held between the respective companies to discuss the talent and research and development in semiconductor area in this month only. Semiconductor fabs, display and ATMP is an important area where the two countries have joined hands. Japan's display domain ecosystem led by companies like Japan Display and Sharp Corporation, they could explore India as a potential location for the display and semiconductor fab. Government of Japan can also encourage Japanese companies to establish display and semiconductor manufacturing in India and get the incentivization we are offering under the Indian Semiconductor Mission. We also need to develop talent exchange programs to build global human resource in these areas, in the semiconductor and display areas between the two countries. So under this digital partnership, we have some new collaborations in the last 4 years. Just to highlight one of the areas which have been understood by the both countries very well, that is digital public infrastructure. So under the G20 presidency of India in 2023, the New Delhi Declaration and the Digital Economy Ministers meeting built a consensus for achievement of three important outcomes, that is G20 framework on systems of digital public infrastructure, a multi-stakeholder mechanism for technical assistance, capacity building, and financial support to building DPI in low and middle income countries. We have also established a global digital public infrastructure repository, which has 54 DPI solutions from 16 countries as on date. India has also signed Memorandum of Understanding with 12 countries, which are under the scope of sharing digital solutions, that is called India Stack altogether, that is implemented at population scale for digital transformation in our country. So this DPI approach has also been encouraged and established under the joint statement with the United States, under the Quad, wherein Japan is also an important member. We have similar collaboration with France and also with European Union Trade and Technology Council to develop and deployment of DPI in developing countries. Recently, we are also in the process of developing Sri Lanka's digital ID solution to project with grant assistance of Indian rupees 450 million from the government of India side. So why we need to develop this ecosystem of financing DPI development in the global south? Because it can lead to economic growth that has been established through the various developments globally in the digital public infrastructure domain. It improves the governance, it improves the societal well-being, and therefore all the stakeholders should come together with innovative funding solution to address the issue of funding mechanism to be provided for the global south. So under this strategy, US $428 billion is needed to connect 3 billion people, primarily in low and middle income countries. So there are challenges of funding constraints, technical expertise, and low digital literacy rate, and which hinders the comprehensive DPI development ecosystem partnership. And also the governments need to foster innovation and encourage the financing DPI, and that must focus on creating a robust and multi-stakeholder ecosystem. There is a lack of pilot support in these global south nations, wherein we have to overcome the issues related to technical expertise, human resource, and process challenges. So towards this endeavor, India has announced a social impact fund for advancing digital public infrastructure solutions in the global south. So it would be a government-led multi-stakeholder initiative aligned with the consensus we have achieved in the G20 New Delhi Leaders Declaration. So the function of Social Impact Fund start with the funding support for DPI implementation. It will also focus on the capacity building, technical and non-technical assistance, and promote awareness, knowledge building, innovation, and partnership with the relevant stakeholders. Digital skilling and talent development between the two countries is very, very important. So we can have joint skill development programs, creating joint skilling programs through partnership between the Indian and Japanese institutions. Industry academia collaboration is one of the important aspects of creating a distant talent pool for both the countries. Expert workshop and conferences can be organized for joint workshops and knowledge sharing sessions on AI researchers and semiconductor engineers. On the job training, schemes can also be implemented for Indian professionals in Japanese semiconductor and AI companies and vice versa. Joint research and development centers can also be established focused on semiconductors and artificial intelligence. technologies, leveraging expertise from both the countries. And we can also collaborate on joint AI projects to address the global challenges like smart cities, healthcare, and mobility. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Mayank Gautam, Director General, Trade Development, National Association of Software and Service Companies, NASSCOM, to make the virtual presentation.
As to why India and Japan relationships are extremely important, I would like to thank His Excellency Ambassador C.B. George for taking up this program, and the partners from Japan side. My name is Mike, and I represent the organization called NASSCOM. I'm going to talk briefly about what the tech industry view the partnership between India and Japan. What are some of the green shoots where we need to strengthen furthermore, and how we perceive the partnership going ahead. Let me share a brief slide deck that we prepared for this. I hope the slide deck is visible. All right. So just to set the context about NASSCOM, NASSCOM is a trade association that represents the $250 billion tech industry from India. It's an industry that's been a truly blue chip industry that has emerged out of India in last 30, 40 years. In a way, the chronology of success of tech industry has coincided with the rise of India and in the global standards. Way back 30 years when we started the industry, the NASSCOM, when it was started, the revenues for the industry were meager $50 million. 30 years down the line, now we're looking at $254 billion plus annual revenues. What is interesting about this industry from India is it's largely dependent on the export markets, which accounts roughly around 80% of the overall revenues. And when you further segregate these revenues, we export around $199 billion worth of services. As part of that, 62% goes to US alone, 18% or so around to UK, and then when you add continental Europe, you're looking around 93-94% of the overall revenues, which leave very less for some of the other critical markets. And for an economy like Japan, world largest economy, our presence though has been there for a large part, but the success or the scope of success that we envisage has been lacking for a long time. But what we've seen in last 10 or 15 odd years is the real push from both the governments, industry, and the academia to build on this economy and take forward the partnership on the tech sphere. Japan, for the longest part, has been the bellwether in terms of tech innovations on the hardware side, and India has proved its mettle on the software innovation. What we see is a huge opportunity for these two countries to collaborate and partner and create solutions for the world with the innovation of hardware from Japan and software from India. And we see a huge opportunity that emerged out of this. Now, if we delve further briefly onto the Indian tech industry, before I come on to the partnership opportunities, I think it's an industry that has been the largest beneficiary of reforms in last 10, 15 odd years. We employ roughly around 5.4 million workforce, and these are digitally skilled workforce. India is India is also the largest pool of AI and digitally skilled resources. It's an industry that is also proud of having 36% diversity in terms of women workforce. What is interesting about this stat is that it's the only industry in the tech sphere in the global standing that has this high participation from the women workforce. Even some of the mature markets like US are struggling to reach these sort of diversity goals. And it's not just the diversity, it's also the talent depth that has been the cornerstone for the success of this industry. Now, India for the longest part has been the darling for tech outsourcing or tech work or digital work, as we say. But what has really transformed in last 10 years or 15 years are 3 or 4 key pivots which have really strengthened the industry. The India success story in terms of financial attractiveness is known to everyone. I'll give you some interesting stats on this. The Indian equity market is probably the best performing market in the world, along with the US in long run. Just to give you an example, if you had invested around $10,000 10 or 12 years back in the Indian equity market, you would have doubled the money. So India is not just the bet in terms of technology. The equity market has been phenomenally well, which provides the financial attractiveness for global players to come and invest in India and partner with India. Cost of outsourcing, cost of living, and cost of real estate, even though it's been steadily increasing, when you compare it to the other markets, it's been phenomenal and has provided a great launch pad for companies to come and set up the shop in India. I mentioned earlier, it's an industry that's been set up on the bulwark of talent, and talent is something which we are not at all short of. It's the highest number of skilled resources, especially in the digital solutions that you can find elsewhere in the world. While the digital solution talent workforce is not in abundance, including in India, but I think India is doing phenomenally well when you compare it to the other markets. So any company that is looking to influence or increase at scale, India is but the natural choice. And add to it the business environment, rapidly growing infrastructure development that's happened in India, not only in terms of the physical infrastructure, but the digital infrastructure, which the previous speaker eloquently covered in the form of DPI and the other building blocks that the Indian government has created. The beauty about these digital blocks have been they are open source. They are open for companies to partner and build for the country and even take global services outside. So we've seen tremendous interest, not only from the Indian players, but also from players outside to partner on this sphere. Now, we've seen the outsourcing wave, starting 20 years back. What we've seen in recent years is the formulation of GCCs, which are called Global Capability Centers. These are the centers that do R&D, cutting-edge work for their parent organizations across the world. India is home to roughly around 1,600 plus of such GCCs, which account for roughly around 55 or 60% of the global sectors in India. And the interesting bit has been that while the first wave have been predominantly the American companies or the European companies, in last few years, what we've seen is companies from Japan really coming big way into the Indian ecosystem. The companies that are coming from Japan are not your typical low-end work, but these are the companies who are using India ecosystem and the talent in India for doing some of the real cutting edge work in terms of designing, in terms of building the next blueprint for new technologies. We've seen tremendous amount of collaboration from Japanese GCCs in India on the startup front. So it's the GCC story that has really pivoted, and we see a huge opportunity again moving ahead with Japan and India in this regard. India has also benefited from the vibrant startup ecosystem. India continues to be the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. We've had over 100 unicorns in recent years. But more importantly than unicorns, it's the number of quality tech startups that have evolved. The tech startups that we typically, the numbers are in terms of hundreds and thousands, but from our point of view, the real deep tech startups, which have really come of age in India, roughly around 3,500 of them, around 700 plus of them are in the core deep tech technologies, which are going to redefine what's the future will hold light. These are some of the critical technologies like semiconductor designing, IoT, AI, and some of the other critical infrastructure-led technologies. The other interesting stat that I would like to share is India boasts significantly higher number of AI-ready startups when you compare it to the G20 countries, which is a huge impetus for companies to come in India and partner with India, take the forward. So now coming to the crux of it, how India and Japan can collaborate. We've seen the collaboration happen at various forums. We've seen tremendous opportunities that have emerged out of it. One of the core area of our interest have been the deep tech startup engagement. I mean, in the past, we've seen partnership between NASSCOM and JETRO and some of the other key stakeholders, always guided by our embassy in Japan, to have the opportunity for Indian startups to partner with Japanese strategic investors. We also see huge opportunity for our startups to collaborate with Japan startups and some of the key market players in Japan. There is also an opportunity for, as I mentioned earlier, for the Indian startups or Indian IT services companies to collaborate with the manufacturers in Japan, be it in the automotive space or the IoT space, wherein there is a natural inheritance partnership between the hardware capabilities of Japan with the software capabilities from India. I think this can be a win-win situation where we are not just looking at each other as a market, but we are also looking at jointly developing products through startups, through large companies to sell to the world, which will open up these market spaces for both India and Japan. I mean, everyone spoken earlier about skilling, collaboration, talent mobility. India happens to be the biggest talent hub for any technology that you're thinking or can envisage in the digital age. And there are various skill enhancing programs that can, I know some of them have been started between India and Japan, but the scope to enhance these programs is enormous. We as an industry body would be open to play any role that we can beyond what we are playing right now and find out how there can be a collaboration on skilling programs to increase talent exchange between India and Japanese companies. We firmly believe actually that would be the key push to take this business partnership ahead. GCC engagement, as I earlier mentioned, is seen a great impetus and is seen a great upward trajectory in recent years. We've seen a number of Japanese companies coming in, setting up their R&D centers in India. Whenever it's possible, we would be there in Japan to talk more about how these opportunities can benefit Japan as an economy and Japanese companies to build their global capabilities that will help them be far more relevant and strengthen their position in global markets. India continues to be the R&D hub for Fortune 500 companies, and that is again, I mean, it's largely in parts of driven with the talent that we have. So Japan can further build upon these core areas. What we also need to focus is on, rather than cover every tech piece within the industry as under the broad stroke of one brush, we need to focus on specific strengths on AI, IoT, cybersecurity, and software development, where we see huge partnership potential and working together would create great products for the global markets. This needs to be a strategic imperative on both sides. What is heartening to see is our governments at the highest level, our missions in both sides have been providing a tremendous impetus and push for the industry to come together. The onus lies on the industry to make most use of the forums that have been provided, including today's. Would have loved to be in Japan and exchange notes on that, but maybe in future. But the continuous dialogue is the future for the India-Japan partnership. We need to have this continuous dialogue and see how the brighter future holds for both Indian and Japanese forums together. Just before I conclude, the India-Japan discussion is not really restricted to this. I've just returned from US last night, and I was at Stanford Research Institute, SRI, where Nomura, one of the Japanese companies, have a big R&D center. I happened to have interaction with companies from Japan, like Nomura, Mitsubishi, Rakuten, and there were a few others. And we had around 30 Indian deep tech startups that were with us in San Francisco. And what came out really, formidably in front was that the push from the industry is same on both sides. there was tremendous common grounds where we could see these companies collaborating with the companies that were traveling with us. So the Indian-Japan stakeholder discussion, so to say, is not just restricted to when we interact with each other in the common grounds, but even faraway places like US, when we have an opportunity, there is always that push to further broaden the strategic engagement between India and Japan. Thanks again for the opportunity provided by the embassy. We look forward for having a fruitful discussions in future, and there is only upward trajectory for this relationship to grow in digital sphere and elsewhere as well. Thank you for the great opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we would like to conclude today's event. Thank you so much to all the speakers and participants for their valuable time to come here and join for the event. We will have a networking session with refreshments, which is in the Chancery building, the next door from the reception. We hope you all join for the networking session. Thank you so much.